So much about the
What would you say if I turned into all the things you love to hate? And on my way comes crashing through the rotten beams and window panes.
Hey everybody, what is going on? Welcome back for me. This is the worst podcast ever. I, as always, am your host, Dan Brosman. We're back, baby. Woo! That's right, man. We made it back. Guys, we are doing this. We're back. Where's everybody else going? All of a sudden, about a month ago, we started seeing all these things about YouTubers saying, hey, we gotta talk. We gotta talk about what's going on here. And I'm like, what's going on? Oh my God. And everybody they're not leaving YouTube, but they're not happy. They're not in their comfort zone anymore. We're going to get into that here in just a minute. But hey guys, how have you been? I can't believe we're back already. I've been planning on getting back to it forever, and we're finally doing it. Back by somewhat popular demand. I think it was more like, hey, are you coming back? It was more of an asking to like a warning, like, you're not coming back, are you? But we are back. Took a break, which ended up being almost a year, which I wasn't planning on. I was planning on 3 weeks. You know, it was like Gilligan's Island here. It was a 2-hour tour, and it ended up being forever here, it seems like. But I am back. Took a break, like I said. I always meant to come back earlier, but it just, I don't know. I just needed this year off. I had other things going on, other things that I wanted to do. And I really wasn't enjoying doing what I was doing on the channel here. I would make half videos, get them halfway done, and just not be happy with what I was doing or how it was looking. And I had like 5 videos that I had started and stopped, and finally I'm just like, you know what, something's just not jiving here, so let's just take some time off. And I thought I needed 3 weeks, and evidently I needed almost a year. And a couple months ago I did record another episode, but it once again, I just didn't post it. It just didn't feel like I was ready to come back. But I am back now. We are going to talk about so many things. Just glad to be back here on the mic and talking to you guys. I hope you guys are doing well. Still doing all the other things that I do as far as in the gaming world. I've been going to conventions. Milwaukee is going to be coming up here pretty soon. Wasn't sure that I was going to go this year. Milwaukee can be kind of expensive. Just, anytime you go into a major city and you got to get a hotel room, that can be expensive. Up there, not always the same people are going, so finding a roommate can sometimes be a challenge. Usually I just end up getting a room by myself, and then once you go out for drinks and food, and then that's not even to say the tickets for the convention, and then actually buying stuff at the convention. So but I wasn't gonna go, and I'm like, how can I not go? So I am getting close to booking all that. I haven't booked it yet, but I'm going to here probably when I get done, when I release this episode. Went to Mo Game Con this past year. It was a great time outside the convention. Inside the convention, not so much. We can talk about that here a little bit here in a second. But always enjoy going down there. We rent a house with other YouTubers like, Captain Algebra, Sean Retro, or 8-Bit Glitch 78, Tom and Lacey from Do You Nerd, the guys from Gaming Off the Grid, who else? Peter from Waves and Games, and Chris Pico from Midlife Crisis Media. I think that's his name now. He changed his YouTube name. He used to be Old Ass Gamer. Now he is Midlife Crisis Media, I believe. But yeah, always a good time hanging out with those guys. The convention hit a little bit of a snag this year, or I should say last year now, because it's been a while. I think that was in August we went, and for the last handful of years, the convention for a Mo Game Con convention had been held at a place, St. Charles, Missouri, at the St. Charles Community College in the gymnasium there, and it was a perfect place. And if you guys have seen my recaps from some of my Mo Game Cons, you've seen the coverage from the Mo Game Con, so you saw what it looked like. And for whatever reason last year, they were not able to get that venue. I don't know what happened there, if there was a falling out there, or the college just was like, nah, we just don't want to do this anymore for whatever reason. And they ended up getting this, it was called Orlando's, and it's all down by St. Louis. And it was pretty much like a wedding reception room. It was super packed. There was so many people there. Like, you could not get through that place. You were just basically jammed in there. And like, if you wanted to see something, you had to look at it as you kind of, waddled by, because you were just so packed in there. And, it was not good. The guys that put it on knew it wasn't good right away. And actually, they, pretty fast after that was done, when they planned for this coming year's, already had another location booked and ready to go, a much larger location. So that's good. So really looking forward to going to Mo Game Con this year. I'm always looking forward to going. I mean, when you spend a whole weekend of doing nothing but retro gaming, it's awesome. So yeah, that's pretty much what's been going on in my life. Not a lot of different things. It's all the normal stuff. The holidays. We just got done with the holidays, which felt like summer was barely over, and boom, Christmas, and now boom, we're talking about spring. It just flies by, and that's kind of how I felt with when I took this year off from YouTube. It doesn't feel like I've been that long away, but when I looked at my last video and I posted it, the dates was March. So it's been a long time. So anyway, yeah, we're back. We're gonna keep going. I'm gonna hopefully keep a regular pace here. I am gonna start videos here pretty soon. I got a handful of videos that I'm gonna start recording and putting out. And I'm actually gonna talk about here in a second. Oh, what's going on, baby girl? What? I'm recording. You don't know what that means, huh? I got one of my cats here, Sarah. She wants to play. I got her some catnip the other day. No more catnip right now. And she's just been going crazy with it. So she's, I think, going through a little bit of withdrawals right now. So, about a month ago, we started seeing, rather I started seeing, everybody started seeing, YouTubers posting videos that was saying, hey, we have to talk, let's talk about the state YouTube or YouTubers and stuff like that. What's up? What's going on? No, you can't go in there. She's trying to get to the other half of the game room here, which is not a game room. It's the laundry room. No, you can't go back there. Anyway, so these YouTubers, all of a sudden it's like, well, what's going on? Like one by one, it seemed like the guys that I watch are just saying, hey, things are kind of changing on YouTube, or not necessarily on YouTube, but like in the market as far as how they're consuming YouTube now. And I was like, wow, what's going on here? Well, a lot of these guys, actually most of them, were people that had decided to make YouTube either all of what they do, like as far as all of their job, their career, or a big part of it at the very least. And, and all of them kind of made that jump around, I don't know, it seems a lot of them did it around when we had the pandemic. So what you had was a large population of people stuck at home. What do? You're going to watch a lot of YouTube. So all of these people, all these YouTubers got really big numbers because, people are stuck at home. They got plenty of time to kill. They're watching YouTube, getting a lot of views from these other guys. Heck, this is, I want to say it was during the pandemic that I started my YouTube channel in this podcast. Now, obviously, I am not doing this. I'm not making money off of this. Would I like to? Very much so. But, I am realistic with, maybe the way I bring people to me and like how entertaining I am. And that's fine. That's fine. We're all learning. I feel like I haven't hit my ceiling yet, but that's just my opinion. I really hope not. Anyway, but so, and some of these guys had already had their YouTube channels for a while, and, they started them, in a time when, let's just say it wasn't oversaturated with all the retro gaming. Let's not mince words here. I am not the first guy to do a retro gaming channel or podcast. There's a multitude of that stuff on YouTube right now, which is great. I wish I could tell you how many YouTubers I follow. And actually, I'm thinking about doing a video series of just covering how many people on YouTube I do watch. And in fact, this past year, I actually started paying for YouTube Premium to get rid of the ads because I was watching so much YouTube that it just made sense. Or dollars, however you want to look at it. Anywho, but yeah, and I feel bad for these guys now because, where they might have not had as much competition, or not, it's not even competition, but there wasn't as many choices back there for you to look at or watch, so they were able to get more views from everybody because, they didn't have to share their time or their views with other people. Or other YouTubers, rather. So, it just is what it is. I mean, people enjoy watching YouTube, and it's easy to get started. It's really easy. I mean, if I can do it, anybody could do it. It's just one of those things where, now things are changing because you had it where it wasn't saturated, and then all of a sudden the pandemic happened, and then everything... everything went sky high as far as views go and everything, and everybody did really well. And now we're, a couple years, 2-3 years out of the pandemic where everybody's back to work. Kind of came down back to reality, really. And now, views aren't what they used to be. People aren't getting the ad revenue that they were before. I know, there's always Patreon. And I don't know how well people are doing on Patreon, but viewership is down. And a lot of these guys, I think, are kind of saying, hey, look, here's the reality of it. I'm really seeing a difference in the money that I'm making, and this may not be what I can do full time anymore. We're not saying that right now we're going away. It just may not be like all the time anymore. And really, I feel bad for, that kind of sucks. But we kind of went through a little bit of a golden era. Unfortunately, the one good thing that came out of the pandemic was that we got a lot of great content on YouTube from people that decided, hey, I'm going to do this full time. Like me. You got me out of the pandemic. I mean, you're welcome. Anyway, but yeah, I guess that's really it with that. I've had people when I started doing YouTube, and the people that really don't keep track of this or just watch YouTube very just in passing said, hey, are you going to do this as like, are you looking to do this as a job? Which I wasn't, and I'm still not, and I said, that's very difficult because, people always see like the ones that really made it, like, PewDiePie, making millions of dollars, Mr. Beast, and those are the very small percentage outliers here of YouTubers, and that's one thing. Everybody's a YouTuber now. Everybody's got, an influencer, which that drives me nuts. That phrase or term, it's just drives me nuts. But and it's like, that is a very, very unpredictable path to go, I would always say, because it's like, look, if you were ever going to do this, you could not rely on YouTube paying you, because the ad revenue is so fickle as far as, from what I understand, and the algorithm can really mess you up, because you'd always see, all of a sudden YouTube would change something with their algorithm, right? And then what would happen? And if you watch a lot of YouTube, you know what I'm talking about. All of a sudden, all these YouTubers that are making money doing this as a job are saying, getting on there making videos going, hey, we're kind of getting screwed by YouTube because now the algorithm's not showing us here, or something would happen to where bunch of people that were subscribed were knocked off and not subscribed anymore to a channel, and this and that. And it is really scary, at least it would be for me, to put my eggs all in one basket and say, I am going to rely on this one entity here for my living, and it's going to be unpredictable. I'm not going to know from week to week or month to month. I don't know how they pay out, how often, but to know if what I'm going to get paid, and I always said it, if you're going to do it, you would probably want to do a Patreon to have some sort of an idea of what maybe you're going to get every month or every 2 weeks or whatever it is. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't have a lot of firsthand knowledge. I don't have any firsthand knowledge as far as like what you get paid and how reliable that is. But what I have noticed and it seems to be very unreliable. And, if you're doing good and getting a ton of views and not just a couple thousand, obviously you're going to need like, in the upper 100,000s, million, to make money, enough money to live on. So, and, I hope that these guys don't have to stop doing this as a job, because if when it's just you, and some of these YouTubers have built like a big thing, like Mr. Beast, that's a whole entity all into itself. But I'm talking about like, people like the 8-bit guy or the modern vintage gamer, guys like that, to where it's just them putting the videos together, putting the content together, and getting it out there, it can be difficult, you know? I mean, look, I know how difficult it is just to do something like this or a video on games or whatever, and then having to, make sure the lighting's correct, the sound's correct, everything is correct, the footage that you're getting is good, and then you have to edit all of it and making sure that comes out well, because editing is a whole nother ball game. Shooting the the content, and then being able to edit it are two separate things that have to come together and work. So it can be quite a daunting challenge and stressful. Hence the year off. But anyway, I guess that's it. Times are changing. I think YouTube's just going to go back to kind of more of I think we're just, that big bump in the road, the blip in the road with the pandemic, and now we're coming back down, and we're just going to have to think. Everything got shooken up here, and now we're just going to have to see where everything lies on YouTube. And another, before I forget, before we move on, another big thing is the way YouTube is being consumed, because shorts are a big part of it. And I go down a rabbit hole on shorts constantly, and I really hate it. I mean, it is so addictive, but like there's a lot of times when I'm like, why am I on a short? I was looking for a longer video here, except a 10-second clip, So, and I know that's where YouTube is pushing more for the shorts. You're kind of like a TikTok video. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's going to be interesting to see over the next year or two, like how this all pans out. Or, maybe it's just a constantly evolving thing, It's never just going to be, one thing for long here. It's just going to keep evolving into another thing and another thing and another thing. And it is what it is. But I think YouTube isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And I think a lot of these guys that have been doing it for a while are still going to be doing it. There's still a lot of interest out there in what these YouTubers do. And hey, I'm a fan. And if you're putting yourself out there and taking the chance of whether or not people are going to like your content, I got a lot of respect for you. So, yeah. So, we always talk about this stuff, and it's like this podcast can be a little bit of, beating a dead horse sometimes. But, like with YouTube, that's ever changing, the world of retro gaming collecting is ever changing now too. I mean, I can remember when I first got into this, 10, 12 years ago, it was, you had maybe the one that was the expensive system to collect for was the Super Nintendo. And everyone's like, oh, there's a bubble. There was a bubble forever. Everyone's like, when's the bubble going to pop? When's the bubble going to pop? Everyone's waiting for that bubble to pop. And it never happened. It never happened. Quite the opposite. And then what happened was we got the pandemic and sent all the prices, instead of bursting a bubble, it inflated that bubble hugely. And I say bubble, maybe that's the wrong term to use, but it inflated the prices big time because, like YouTube and all the viewerships there, everybody was at home. What are you going to do? You going to watch YouTube? We need some entertainment. Let's play some games. And all of a sudden, the world was re-energizing the retro gaming, interest, at least in this country. I don't know how it was in other countries, but I know here everything became interesting again as far as retro gaming. And the prices went up, and they went up, and they went up, and they're still going up. And now you have systems like, where before it was like, Super Nintendo could be a little bit pricey, maybe on some games. And then the N64 had a time when it was, that was the price of game. Now you have like, You know, the Sega Dreamcast, that's expensive to collect for. You have the GameCube, that's been expensive for a long time. You have the TurboGrafx 16, that's expensive to collect for. Okay? And, you know, I have never been a big, you know, I gotta have this game or I gotta have that game. You know, I mean, whatever. One thing I will say is I've never been that guy, well, except maybe one time where I spent over $100 on one game, and that was to get my Mega Man 5. Because I had messed up a couple years before when I could have gotten it for $50, and then the pandemic happened and I couldn't find it again. And I just was like, you know what? I should buy it right now. I think I spent like $125 on it, and I was just like, I bit the bullet. I bought it in Milwaukee a couple years ago because I said I got to get it now to finish. That's the last one I needed for my Mega Man collection, and I was like, if I don't do it now, it's just gonna keep going up, and I at least want to finish that off. And, you know, was that a good decision? I don't know. I mean, I don't have buyer's remorse at all about it. But, you know, it is very difficult right now to say that retro gaming is as affordable as it was before. Now, that's what I feel. But there's a flip side to that coin. Because what I think is retro, as the years go by, you know, now you're getting other systems that are very much retro. The PlayStation 2. Even some people saying the PlayStation 3 a little bit. Now, you know, that kind of goes back and forth with people saying, well, you know, that's kind of, you know, too far ahead. But, you know, what is retro? For some people, retro means something different, means a different generation of consoles now, you know. So where I think we're at right now is the PlayStation 2, you know, the original Xbox, the GameCube. The GameCube's been expensive for a long time. So, but the GameCube was, I want to say, well, no, that was PlayStation 2, an original Xbox era. Even the 3D or the 360, the Xbox 360, people are starting to say, you know, hey, you know, and this is really the time to collect for those systems. Maybe not so much the GameCube, because the GameCube, finding games for that can be hard. And when you do, it's expensive, right? Is what it is. But, you know, so where I am thinking, man, retro game is so expensive, that's because my retro, the games that I want to buy, they are expensive. Okay? But there's another part of the collecting stratosphere here that isn't expensive, and it's the ones that I just mentioned. Maybe the regular, like the regular PlayStation, that is very much, you know, in the retro right now. So it's interesting, you know, because, you know, we came out of this pandemic, and, you know, if you guys remember, if you listened to this podcast, when we were still in the pandemic, I said emphatically that I thought that, hey, you know, these prices are going to be sky high, and then once everybody has, you know, all of this stuff, and we come out of pandemic, and now people want to get rid of them, the prices are just going to fall out. Here's me saying I was wrong, you know. But, you know, that's just what I thought. I mean, obviously, it wasn't the word of God. It wasn't chiseled in stone, because you really don't know. And clearly, I didn't know, because I was wrong. But, you know, I do feel that eventually some of this stuff is going to go down. But when that'll be, I don't know. I really don't know. Because it seems like the pandemic was very key in being negative and positive. Negative in the fact that it made it more expensive for the collectors that were already in the market. But it made it more of a commonplace thing amongst the general public, which brought retro gaming to the forefront again for everybody, which was great. You know, because it's hard for me to say, God, now I got to pay all this extra money because now everybody's interested in what the hell. I can't really be too mad or mad at all about it because it's great that retro gaming, there's such a big, push in retro gaming now, or interest, or increase in interest, however you want to say it. But yeah, I mean, and we're going to get into it in the next segment here, but there's other ways to play these games. And this is me, Mr. Physical Media. I don't like digital media, but I have been taking a softer stance on that as far in a certain aspect, as far as digital and physical. I still love my physical games, but there has been a realization with me in knowing that, hey, this isn't 12, 15, 20 years ago when you could get a lot of games for a really good deal fairly easily. It's just over. It's just over. Maybe you can hit a garage sale and people are just looking to get rid of it. We just put it out there and we didn't know about it, and there's nobody else in your area that's a collector. You might get lucky, but I have not come across one of those in the last couple years, unfortunately. And a lot of those people were just happy. A lot of those people that wanted to get rid of that stuff already got rid of it. So is there a bubble right now? I don't know. I think with a lot of things, people thought that there was going to be like one day the prices are going to be way up here, and then all of a sudden the next day they're going to be down here. And I think it's going to be more of a general over time trail off, for certain systems. Look, this one's been up here forever. Everybody's wanted this system forever, ever, and then it's going to be like, and who cares? Now, I have a feeling that that's going to take longer to get down to the who cares part on the lower end of things. But, from what we've seen here in the past handful of years, that seems to be the way things are going. So, if it is still a great thing to get into retro gaming here, okay? It is definitely, physical media is still very much alive as far as these older consoles go. Of course, we know going forward, physical media is going to be gone. It's just going to be gone. It's going to be gone. That's it. But, we have so much older stuff that we could be collecting. It doesn't matter at this point. I mean, it is what it is. And, what retro gaming and gaming collecting going forward is going to mean when, we're 5-10 years into systems that no longer have any sort of physical media. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. We're going to have maybe, it's just that's going to bump retro gaming up even more collecting as far as these systems that still that had the physical media, and that's just going to make it more pricey and more collectible. I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see, guys. We just got done talking about, kind of what's been going on with retro gaming, collecting, and the pricing, and it is what it is. Where the price is being high on some systems, and one of the things that's happened during the last year that I've been gone, and one of the things I've been really working on is changing over from being a avid collector of physical media to realizing, hey, look, I can still collect that physical media. It's just I'm gonna have to slow down on it because it's more than I'm willing to pay. But there's other ways we can play those games. And, emulation has always been something that I've been super interested in, and I've definitely dabbled in the past. My machine back here, my arcade machine, or rather both of them are emulation. The one's just powered off a Pandora's box twin stick, and the other one is a Raspberry Pi I set up. So, back in the day, I definitely got interested in emulation because emulation's so cool. Download an operating system, flash an operating system on to a micro SD card, put in your Raspberry Pi, and now load some games up, and you're ready to go. And the emulation has come so far over the last 10 years. It's crazy. And now, going forward with, PlayStation 2, PSP, PlayStation 3, all that emulation is just so good. And even systems like maybe, the N64, which is still not great, but has definitely made some progress over the last handful of years. And for a group of people that love playing games but don't want to spend the price of actually having to buy, the physical media and maybe spend more than they're willing to spend or is worth it, because everyone's got that line in the sand. This is how much I'm willing to pay for that product. This is how much it's worth to me. And the price is here. It's just not worth it. I would love to play it if it was right here. But for up here, now I'm going, dude, that was a lot of money to spend for something that I was only interested to about here. And that's one of the things that I've done here. And it started actually a couple years ago when I changed out the optical drive out of my Dreamcast, and I put the GDEMU in there, which is an optical drive emulator. And something that I've been looking forward to doing in some of my other machines coming up here. I'm looking this year to get a Saturn, and I'm going to swap it out with an optical drive emulator because, Saturn's another one of those. Trying to find the games can be a challenge. Not a lot of games were made for the Sega Saturn because it wasn't that popular of a machine at the time. Right? And what other system? There's something coming out for the GameCube here. Hopefully in the first quarter of 2024, that's actually gonna allow you to keep, a lot of optical drive emulators where you have to take out the optical drive and store it somewhere or get rid of it. And just have the optical drive emulator in there. Well, this is going to allow you to have both in there at the same time. And I think it's called the Flippy Drive. It's going to be coming out here within the next 4 months, I think, which is I think it's going to be like $38, It hasn't come out yet. They're getting ready to release it here soon. And I am absolutely ready for that because I've wanted more games for my GameCube. And, other than not being able, I wouldn't say afford them, but not wanting to spend all that money that people are asking for, you can't find the games. They're very far and few between. Like going to the gaming stores around here, the resale shops, you got maybe a couple shelves of them, and they're just like sports games or I don't know, games that I'm not interested in picking up. And even at the conventions, the retro gaming conventions, they're very, very sparse. At least from what I've seen. You get a lot of PS2, you get a lot of Xbox 360s and that kind of stuff. You can all day and all night find that stuff. But GameCube, not so much. And when you do find it, you're paying for it. So, and there are so many, even with Raspberry Pis being, more expensive than they've been in the past, it's still a good option. And a lot of these mini PCs I've been looking into also can be really great emulator machines. For a fairly low price. I mean, you can get a $200 to $300 little mini PC, with maybe a terabyte on there for and run Batacera on there and have a bunch of systems on there. But, obviously, if you want to do like a PS2 or if you want to do a PlayStation 3, you're going to have to, have a little bit beefier of a machine. But they do come, you could spend, $400, $500, $600 on these little machines, and they're very easy to upgrade and this is me. I'm not a tech guy as far as being handy with this stuff. But you can upgrade the memory on these very easily, I should say. So I guess what I'm saying is who are you going to call? Well, you're going to call Emulation, because Emulation is where it's at, man. But really, being serious here, I think that if you are interested in retro gaming, but you're not really interested in the pricing and having all these games, then Emulation is really good to go. And I think it's just great, like all these optical drive emulators, because look, let's face it, a lot of these disc-based systems, I want, as far as the game preservation side of things, I really enjoy having these optical drive emulators, because these discs aren't going to last forever. I mean, we already see that big time with the early CD game systems, especially stuff like 3DO and the Sega CD and the TurboGrafx CD. I mean, all of those systems, very much so, those CDs are breaking down. And, at the time we thought, oh man, and coming from tapes and stuff like that, this technology, it's going to last forever. Well, not so much. Disc rot is very much a problem with those early CD games. And because was it last year or the year before, I went to my local resale shop and I said, do you guys have any 3DO games here? And they brought out a box from the back. It had about, 20 games in there. And I got to be honest with you, about 99% of them, when, you hold it up to the light, the disc up to the light, 99% of them had disc rot, where you could see the little pinholes of, the dies and whatever else inside there breaking down. But they still had them, labeled like how it is, they were the market price. And it's just like, you're going to spend $70, $50 on a game that may or may not work. It may work now, but, in a year from now, 2 years from now, it's not going to work. You spend $70 on what? A piece of plastic that you can't do anything with anymore, because that data on that disc is gone. It's just not there anymore, because this disc broke down. And I have early music discs, music CDs that look perfect, not a scratch on them, nothing. You put them into a CD player and certain tracks won't play, certain tracks play halfway through and then they stop playing. You're going, why? What's happening? Well, the CD's breaking down on the inside. And there was such a vast range of, quality as far as, all these different manufacturers of how they manufactured the CDs. And, some of them are still very much good and perfect and are going to last a really long time. And some of them are just not. And there's no way to differentiate between the two. There's not, until it just goes bad. So it is where we are. I know I've talked about that before, but yeah, so Emulation on my side of things, that's where I've gone. I've done very little collecting. I get stuff at, conventions when I go, and every once in a while I'll go on eBay. I stopped going to a lot of the stores around here because there just isn't the stock. I mean, they'll have all the main stuff and it'll be expensive. And I'm not saying that they have it priced, above what it should be. They have it priced where it should be. You know, they're not gouging anybody, but it's just, you know, either I already have that stuff or I'm just not going to spend that money. And, you know, I'm not going to wait. You know, I know we call them backup games that we use in emulation, but I'm sorry. I'm not going to wait my whole life to collect a cartridge that's $1,000 right now to play that game when I want to play it, and there's no other way to get that game. I'm going to download it off the internet, you know, so I could play it a little bit, you know. And I know people frown on that or whatever, but I don't care. Because I wasn't going to spend $1,000 to a reseller for a game cartridge. That's crazy. That's banana balls. So, it is what it is. And, yeah. So, every once in a while, you know, someone passes away that, you know, really, really kind of surprises the hell out of you. And unfortunately, we just had someone pass away that I just wanted to say a few words about and just kind of remember them a little bit. And that's the great Carl Weathers. And for those of you that maybe are not familiar with who Carl Weathers was, he was an actor that played such characters as Apollo Creed in the Rocky movies. He played was it Chubbs or in Happy Gilmore. He was Dylan in The Predator. He also played the magistrate. I can't think of what his name was in The Mandalorian. That character's name, I can't think of it. And you know, amongst other movies and stuff, that's just what's off the top of my head. And it was really, really shocking to find out that, you know, I think it was sometime last week that Carl Weathers had passed away. I think it was in his sleep. So, I mean, if you're going to go, boy, that's the way to go. I don't know what the reasons were. I don't believe he was sick with anything or had any sort of health issues, but, you know, a shock to a lot of people, and, you know, we're going to miss it. He was a great actor, and from everything that I've heard, he was a great person in his personal life, and, yeah, here's to you, Carl Weathers. Rest in peace, my friend. Peace. Sorry. So, you know, my YouTube channel is about, you know, it's media, the Midwest Media Show. And I've always said it's about video games, movies, and music. And very rarely do I talk about, I guess, music on here. Very rarely. So, and I've always thought about, well, maybe I should just take that off my logo and not have it on there. But I do enjoy talking about music whenever I get a chance here. And something happened. Something came out on Netflix to where I get to talk about two things that I absolutely love. One's music and one's the 80s. And I love a good documentary. Like, if you put me down, I love documentaries. I love it. You know, I'm not a big fan of when, you know, they make a motion picture about a historical event, you know, and it's kind of dramatized. I'm more of, I want to know how it exactly was. And I want, like, you know, some British, you know, with an English accent narrator telling me about, you know, what's going on and having real life footage of that event or whatever. And something came out on Netflix, and it is a documentary about We Are the World. And hold on here, guys. I don't remember what the name of it is here. Let me just check here. Because one of the guys at work told me about it. And I was like, shut up. Where is it here? I don't know. It is not here. I don't know. So anyway, is that it? It's gone. I don't see it. Anyway, it'll show up as soon as I get done recording. Anyway, for those of you that may be a little bit too young to know what this is, We Are the World was a song that came out in, I want to say 85, 86, to help raise money for, at the time, Ethiopia over in Africa was going through a famine, and like a really bad one where people were just dying by the thousands every day, and it was children and parents and everything over there had no food, no access to food, no access to clean water, and were just dying of malnutrition and starvation every day, and just was absolutely the worst. And Henry Fontaine, who, if you don't know him, look him up. You'll know who I'm talking about. Decided that, he's always been a huge humanitarian for stuff like this, and said, hey, why don't we get some of the biggest stars in music at the time, get them together, and we'll sing this song, right? And they'll donate their time to sing this song, record this song, and then the profits from that will be to go and help get food and clean water to these people in Ethiopia, right? And, I never really thought about it when I was a kid, because in 1985 I was 7 years old. But I remember I had the single of this. And what I mean by single is I had a little, record, a little vinyl record about this big, and for people that are around my age or younger or older, you'll know what I'm talking about. And on one side it had, the singing and the full song, and then you flip it over on the other side, and it only had like the instrumentation. It didn't have the singing, so that way if you wanted to do, karaoke on it, you could. Anyway, the 80s are awesome. So this thing kind of took over as far as, kind of this documentary kind of showed you like how this was all put together, and what a tremendously difficult thing, like an amazing thing to put it together it was, and how hard and fragile it was to get all these different huge, you're talking huge stars at the time together. You're talking like Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie, which were the two guys that, wrote We Are the World. And then you had, Ray Charles, you had Stevie Wonder, you had Steve Perry from Journey, you had Bob Dylan, Cyndi Lauper, Huey Lewis, Tina Turner, Kenny Rogers. It just, all of these people, and I know I'm missing more. Paul Simon, just all of these people who at the time were the hugest stars, some of the hugest stars in the world as far as music goes, and how they all came together and basically planned it to where they were going to all be together because of the American Music Awards. And after that show got over with, all of them went to this recording studio on the other side of town and showed up, like at 10 o'clock, and they didn't finish until like 8 that next morning. And all of these, it was just funny. And first of all, let me just say, if you don't want to hear anything about it, but you want to go, you don't want it ruined, and you want to go and watch it, this is where you're going to want to dip out, okay? And I'll give the thumbs up here on the video part of this, to when I'm done talking about it. Ooh, here we go. So they all come over there, and you have I think Bette Miller was a part of it. All of these big stars come rolling in, right? And they had already had everything set up, everything ready to go, and it was amazing because all these people have egos probably the size of the world, and they're all in there, and they're all just, probably had never had all these people together in one place. Maybe the music awards, but not so intimately together, which is great. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. This documentary hit me in my feels so bad because so many of these people, it was my childhood as far as music goes in this one room. And I love the song too. And so, they have all these people in there, and they're kind of like, we don't really know what this is going to be. And it was explained to them, like, hey, this is what's going on over there. Don't kid yourself. This is serious. We're trying to do this for all these people. There are people out there that are dying right now as we speak because they just have been suffering and starving, and we are trying to get some money together here to make this to make some money to get help to these poor people over in Ethiopia. And this shows like how they were going through and trying to get everybody figured out, like with their ranges of their voices and who was going to sing at what time and this and that. And then like it was crazy because like everybody's kind of like as it's going along, and some people are kind of still unsure of whether or not they want to be there, and they're like stuff's going on. And then as the time goes on, the later and later it gets, like at one point they all kind of break. There's like a break and where they're eating and stuff and just kind of hanging out, and everybody kind of lets their guard down. And it was so cool to see how humanizing this documentary made all of these tremendously big stars. And all of them started, they're sitting there with each other in different groups and eating and just talking about, their lives and this and that. And then all of a sudden, one asks the other, hey, I've always been a big fan of yours. Do you think I could get an autograph? And then all of a sudden, all of them started giving each other their autographs because they were all big fans of one another. It was so cool. And even, I'm getting goosebumps right now just talking about this. And it was so cool because in that moment, it said, they're just people too. I mean, you don't think of them like that because, you don't always, when you think of them up on a pedestal, because they were just this phenomenon as far as this cultural pop phenomenons in their own right. And it's just crazy to think that, all of them are just very much these humane or just down to earth, regular humanized people. And it was great. And it was really like, even at the end, it was really sad when it was all over. And a lot of them realized, they're like, we're kind of bummed that this is over, because it was like that one special part in like they had a little pocket of their own time when this happened, this one night, to where the rest of the world was asleep, or the rest of the country was asleep, and all of these tremendously awesome people were in the same room doing this. And it was that little pocket in time to where something magical and something special happened. And in the end, the song ended up just killing it and making so much money for the people over there in Ethiopia to get food and clean water, and won like a ton of awards the following year at the American Music Awards. And it was just great. And I can't recommend it more. I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's on Netflix. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Netflix. And I mean, just a great documentary. All right, guys. You didn't think that we were going to come back from almost a year off and not have a segment about Star Wars, did you? Come on. We're going to do this. You know we're going to do this. I mean, I haven't talked about Star Wars on this podcast in a year. Mainly because I haven't done this podcast in a year. But, be that as it may, we're going to talk about it. And, am I going to be critical of something? I'm not saying I'm not going to be. But let's talk about some positives here that are going on. So, in the time that I've been away, Ahsoka dropped. Okay? What did I think of Ahsoka? Okay? Let me say this. Okay? Let me say this about Ahsoka. Here's the thing. Ahsoka was fucking awesome. Okay? Ahsoka was fucking awesome. I absolutely loved that show. From top to bottom, loved the whole fucking thing. That's what you should be doing. That's exactly what Star Wars is. That's what they should be doing right then, or right there, and then with everything. With everything in Star Wars. Now, why was it so great? I don't know. Maybe because the people that should have been given the keys to this kingdom a long time ago were in charge of it. Dave Filoni. Oh, I don't know. Jon Favreau. I think it was actually more Filoni on this one. But, you know, basically what you had was Star Wars Rebels in live action. I loved it. I loved Ahsoka. I think Rosario Dawson does a really good job with Ahsoka Tano. I think Sabine was awesome. I think Ezra was awesome. I think all of them were awesome. All of them. And it just... And let's first of all, who in the hell ever thought that we were going to get a live action version of Admiral Thrawn? Sorry, losing mouth is a little dry here. This is the most talking I've done in a long time. But whoever thought that we were going to get a live action, Admiral Thrawn? Nobody. I mean, we were amazed when we got him in the cartoon, and then to have him in this, it was phenomenal. Everybody who was in this was phenomenal. Everybody's character was phenomenal. I just loved every single part of this whole thing. I loved Chopper in it. I loved what's her face's son. God, now I'm Kanan Jarrud's son, who has, Force abilities. I just love the whole thing. I cannot wait until season 2. I mean, I don't want to get into it too much, because if you haven't seen it yet, you got to go and see it. But if you're a Star Wars fan and you haven't seen it, I don't know what the hell's going on with you. My guess is that there's no Star Wars fans out there that have not seen this. Now, another thing that also has come to pass was The Mandalorian Season 3, which I thought was okay. It was okay. I didn't think it was, super great, but I thought it was okay. I thought it was going to be better, especially, after Season 2 was so good, I felt. But now, they're not doing any more seasons with that. And currently, they are, well, at least they were supposed to start last week or the week before shooting the Mandalorian movie, which is amazing because that's the first movie that Disney has made for Star Wars since when? I don't know, was it the Rise of Skywalker? And when was that? A while ago. It's like, 4 years ago. And here we're supposed to have all these movies and nothing has come to pass. Right? Why is this thing bouncing all over the place on me? Am I going nuts here? Okay. I don't know. Something's going on. Anyway, I think we got poltergeist in here. Either that or one of the cats is doing something here. Are we having other things are shaking here? Are we having an earthquake here? In the Midwest? I don't know. Yeah. Things are shaking here a little bit. What in the world? Okay. Anyway. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. No, this is weird. We do get earthquakes here, but they're usually, 99 times out of 100, they're very unnoticeable. And it's not like in California when everything starts shaking, but it was just my boom arm here seemed like it was bouncing a little bit here. I'm looking at it, I'm going, what's going on here? Anyway, you never know, because half the times it's the cats doing something. They're pawing at something, or they're playing with something. So, but anyway, I guess that's it. All I had to say about Star Wars. I mean, really, there's not much going on now. I don't know about the second show. A lot of this, to be fair, with a lot of things that are going on in Hollywood, shows that are taking forever to come back, like, The Boys and this and that. We had, I want to say we had, what, two strikes going on? You had, the actors had gone on strike. I think the writers went on strike or something like that in Hollywood. So, like, all of these projects just got pushed back to, a year or whatever. I mean, I know the one that I was really looking forward to coming out, Dune 2, the sequel, was supposed to come out in November, and then because of everything that was going on, got pushed back to, I want to say maybe next month. I could be wrong about that, but it's coming up fairly soon now. So, I mean, whatever. We're getting another movie here. I'm sure it's going to be great because, you got the two guys working on everything now that should be, the person that I'm not a fan of that's running everything, Kathleen Kennedy, is supposedly retiring. She's done. Who knows? But, what they've been doing lately has been really nice. I mean, Ahsoka was really nice. There was a lot of great moments in it. Anakin in it, that episode was like episode 5 where they had the flashback and they went to the Clone Wars and she was young and Anakin was there in his battle armor, his Clone Wars armor. I mean, dude, I cannot tell you how many times I've watched that episode. Just really great stuff, But yeah. Well, anyway, guys, I think that's where we're going to wrap it up. I've been talking a while, rambling a while. My throat's a little sore here, My mouth is dry. I haven't been exercising this muscle. You know what I mean? I just need to get back in the swing of things here, and maybe next time bring some water with me here. Come on, man. Let's get serious here. Well, guys, I hope you enjoy getting back together. I know that I was really excited to get back on the mic, talk to you guys, tell you guys what I think about anything. You guys care what I think? Well, obviously you do on some level here because you're listening to me. But we're back. Hopefully I will not go anywhere anytime soon. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be every week or every 2 weeks, but I am going to keep on this, and be on the lookout for new videos on my YouTube channel, the Midwest Media Show. And that's it. It's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed being back here, and as always, I love you guys. Good night and goodbye.
Nobody gets it. Nothing you think matters. This isn't special. This is happening infinite times across infinite realities.
Including this?
Yes!